Today on Drawbli.
I am copying the sketches of Can Liu.
Hey, I'm Ben.
And I'm Abby.
And we're self-taught artists documenting our drawing adventures because art is better when shared with friends.
So click that subscribe button if you're new around here.
And don't forget to check out our guidebook on daily drawing linked below. Abby, tell me about the sketches of Can Liu.
Okay, so as you know, Can Liu is one of the best artists
alive
we know of. Yes.
He's amazing.
We actually look at a lot of incredible artists, but Can Liu's always been one of my favorites that we've looked at in the last year or so. So I decided to embark on a little adventure of just kind of doing a rough copy of a bunch of his sketches to see what I would absorb and learn from this in-depth look. And this, mind you, isn't even like his drawings, like full color, rendered. Yeah, this is just stuff that has a lot of like hatching and just black and white.
I love that.
I happen to do it in red. And I was curious to see what I would end up taking away.
Even if it's just like getting better at being able to like one-for-one copy something visually. Just practicing your referencing skills.
True.
It's an important skill.
True. So some things that I took away initially were like all the detail work. Like some of this stuff looked like it was going to be fairly simple, but when I got down to it, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of complex.
Oh no, what have I done?
I know. Like all these little ropes and stuff holding on to this little satchel that was behind the previous drawing. And then
the way you draw is still, like, I will never get over the way you draw. Your lines are so interesting and unique. You have just like a really unique way of working.
Well, thank you. I like taper, I think.
Heck yeah.
It's very sketchy, but I think I like a lot of my lines to taper, and I try as much as I can to avoid a lot of like chicken scratch if I can help it.
It's a hard thing to avoid.
It's
at least
hard.
For me.
And with this pen I'm using in Procreate, it's extra hard. This pen is
really?
It lends itself to a lot of like little flyaway strands, I guess you would say.
Oh, like there on the left side of the chin, like that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do know what brush you're talking about.
But it has such a fun, like, dramatic taper that it's still a fun brush to use because it really feels like a thick to thin, very quickly kind of phenomenon.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive brush, or at least a lot of those pen brushes are.
Yeah, it's one of those inking brushes, but they're really fun to work with. I feel like I have to be more confident in my line work with them to get the desired effect. Another thing that I took away from this process was that even for his small sketches, you will see areas in all of them that are really like dark, larger areas of darkness, like the hair.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the girls have like dark shorts, and it's a really nice contrast. I tend to leave a lot of my sketches just kind of like, oh, everything's kind of like just pale the whole way through.
Yep.
But I think there's so much
exactly
more interest with the contrast here.
I totally agree. Yeah, that's definitely something he does in all of his works.
I didn't pick up on that as a like important stylistic choice until I actually went through doing this. And at some points I even had areas that were, I think like on this arm, less filled in than the reference would have been, and it just doesn't read nearly the same.
Yeah.
I love his dramatic poses he does too. This one's really like such a cool angle.
Wow. Immediately the face, like you got it in one go. I love how with all these, I'm not seeing you erase really at all, which is normally an Abby original.
Oh, to erase a lot? Yeah.
Well, you like to get it perfect, you know, you'll draw it, erase it, redraw it. But with these, you're going in so quick and confident.
Yeah, because I told myself this was kind of a low pressure day. I have a lot of those low pressure days.
This is low pressure. I mean, you're killing these. I mean, I know you're, studying another artist, and you're not necessarily doing like master's studies, but you are crushing these.
Thank you.
Just one after another after another.
That was my day that day. It was just one after another. Because it was so, like, I had a website pulled up with a bunch of his sketches.
Nice.
So it was easy to go from one to one to one. This one, I think I did struggle with the face a little bit here, but it came together.
Fair.
Oh, this one, you'll recognize this one, actually. Even though it's just a very basic sketch, it's from one of his works that we really know and like
Ooh, is
quite
it
a
going
lot.
to be the fan? Is she holding up the fan? I
Yes,
knew
the
it.
water fan.
I knew it.
I keep it pretty simple, but His work with hands in his sketches too is really like nice and detailed. His faces in his sketches are, I guess, relatively simple, but in what I noticed in all of his sketches was like he pays very close attention to hands and clothing. Clothing and the details with clothing get a lot of time and attention as well.
It's always so fun to see like what different artists like to focus on and what they're also willing to kind of leave behind. I know, for instance, like I don't like to put a ton of detail into clothing and like do this really intricate, you know, texture and that kind of stuff. I'd much rather spend a lot more time on my like face for my focal point.
Right. That's something I want to get more into though, is like I feel like it's just going to start to add more interest to my works to have a little bit more going on. But that's the thing, is it just takes more time, more expertise. This one was fun to work on because there were a few more hard surfaces. She's sitting in a chair doing some like mechanical work on something. I'm not exactly sure what it is. And she has a mechanical arm. Which is really fun to draw, actually. I imagine Canliu had a lot of fun like designing her mechanical arm because she's actually in some of his other stuff that I sketched with, I think it's probably the same person with that arm.
Yeah.
And this was another one that really locked into me. Something as simple as her dark hair and then her shorts. I believe I think I filled those in as well. And having those both filled in really added a lot of like interest to me to the whole thing.
Yeah, just to have those kind of periods of rest is what I'm going to call them, because you know, you look at this from that mile-wide perspective and you don't necessarily know where to focus, but those areas of darkness kind of give your eyes some rest.
So it's definitely something that I want to pay more attention to moving forward, and maybe even try to incorporate into future stuff as well.
On that last sketch, like I'm just so surprised that you're just doing these one line after another, like not stopping, like so confidently. This is like weird. Like,
yeah.
It's weird how good you are at this.
Oh, well, thank you. If I can do one thing.
Like, look at you. Like, you're not hesitating. You're not like doing a light line and then you're just like, this is the line. This is where the line go.
I think that comes from having preferred, prior to having an iPad, to doing a lot of my sketching with a pen and paper as opposed to pencil. And so through much trial and error, you very quickly learn to size up where a stroke is going because there's no take-backsies with a pen. Okay, so this was something fun I did on PoseMy.art. At the end of all this, I wanted to try to apply this style. So I found this website where you can like pose a scene.
Ooh,
yeah,
so
I thought
fancy.
This was cool. So this is just to demonstrate what that looks like.
That's cool. So you can like pick different poses of
There's
characters
so
and stuff.
many poses.
Yeah.
So I had this pulled up on a monitor in front of me from a slightly different pose. And I was like, cool, I'm going to draw these armatures.
I'm gonna draw these amateurs.
Draw them like
Very
an
nice.
amateur. And then see if I can maybe just get a little touch of Canliu kind of feeling style to me. And it definitely is something by me and not him, and you can tell, but it was still fun to do, and I really like this website.
One step closer.
Exactly.
Every time. It's just one more step, you know?
Yeah. And this was just a fun exercise to do as well.
I'm going to have to check out this website, PoseMy.art.
It's like a web page application.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was really cool, and it had so many different poses. Like
this is really the best way to do this. Like, draw a bunch of his art, like study it, and then use this to get some poses and try to overlay it. I mean,
yeah, at this point I was just like, I won't bother with using detailed reference. I'll just make up this part. I noticed he does a lot of detail at waistband, so I was like, so she'll have a detailed waistband, kind of. And of course, dark shorts.
Of course.
And dark hair. And I'm just trying to incorporate the same style of line work that I was before.
Yeah.
But also, you know how that is. You're at the end of a drawing segment and you kind of past that point where you're warmed up and going hard, and you're kind of more at the point where you're like, I'm a little bit fried and ready to just start scribbling a little bit. So this was kind of the tail end to my drawing
This
day.
is also the hardest part of what you've done so far. You know, you're taking what you have been practicing and now trying to apply it onto something else, whole cloth.
Yeah.
So you're the most tired at the hardest part.
Right. And it's a lot harder to make those faces look right when I don't have a face. I'm just copying. But again, we got a little bit more waistband action there. And
Waistband.
I also noticed that in some of his sketches, he has like a little fun Asian cloud, like with the gentle swirls. So I think I added some of those in here and gave her rocks to jump off of.
Very cool.
Yeah, just like, and they swirls.
I love it.
Just for fun, because I noticed that was in some of his earlier sketches as well. So yeah, there's my copies of Can Liu's sketches. I
mean, these look awesome. And it was super cool to just watch you kind of create them so fluidly.
Thank you. People should go check out the originals, honestly, because they're, of course, much better than mine. But yeah, this was awesome and such a surprisingly great exercise to go through and try. So highly recommend.
And if you want to be recommended something, you should click that like and subscribe button and check out our guidebook, How to Easily Draw Every Day, at the link below in the description.
Share your work on Instagram with #Drawbli, because drawing is better with friends.
And this is the part where we say
goodbye.
Goomba. Do you have any other recommendations for us, Abby?
I recommend lavender chamomile tea with a dollop of lemon juice. That is what I'm drinking right now.
You gotta be careful with the lemon juice in certain teas. It can ruin it.
Well, you did put it in a tea with milk that one time.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that.
No, it was weird.
It will curdle the milk.
It
will
does.
ruin it.
It really did.